So you're ready for a massive change, yeah?
Yeah, well, it's been 2 months since I got my hair cut.
2 months?
Yeah, it's been...
Okay, nice, that's good then, yeah, that's really good. So what we're going to do is do a nice blunt fringe, loads of texture through it, and then we're going to work down to a skin fade as well. So we're going to do quite a drastic blend through the back and sides, but obviously nice short crop fringe. Going to pick the point of reference where it works best for his face shape, and then we're going to texture on the top, loads of texture in there, just make it very versatile for him to play around with as well. So you can have it quite sort of fashionable if you have that really blunt fringe, but you can also mess it up and have it more of a natural kind of short back and sides looking fringe as well if you don't want it to be too harsh. We're going to take about this much at the top. I'd say maybe roughly, I mean, it's short at the crown along with the fringe, but I'm going to make it about that length from the apex down. But as we get to just sort of about round here, just before the fringe, maybe an inch before the fringe, we're going to leave that heavier and disconnect the fringe, which sits on top of the fringe, keeping it more blunt. But what that also allows us to achieve is a bit more creativity through the fringe, because there'll be longer elements through it, so you can create it quite choppy as well if you want. So it's quite a versatile haircut, even though it is essentially a lot of disconnection going through it. So what I do when I get to this point, I bring all this hair back, and I bring it back to the point of my last section, and as you can see, you don't cut anything off. So what that allows me to do is that with that over direction, it allows the fringe to sit with the weight on it, that keeps it sitting flat, because it will kick out otherwise. But it allows me to have that movement through the fringe, that creates that texture. It also starts to create shape as well. If it was all cut one length, you wouldn't get that movement through. So we're just trying to create the crown a bit shorter, so you've got a lot more movement here. Then as it gets towards the fringe, you start getting that longer length. And then when you start slide cutting through it, you sort of break that texture up, you start to see all that movement sitting through. And it just keeps that weight on the fringe to keep the bluntness in there as well. Try and keep that really masculine shape, really show off Luke's jawline. It's all about the head shape really. When you create it, create the jawline through that as well. It's a really strong look for somebody. Not everyone can pull it off, but people who can, it's such a strong look. But it's a very versatile look as well. I mean, there's a lot that goes into this haircut in terms of technicality, but it's such a strong look for someone with a very strong jawline. High cheekbones, strong jawline, especially when you work, you almost kind of like map the fringe around the face to bring the jawline out and the cheekbones out. And obviously doing a fade with it just kind of gives that little bit more creative edge as well. So I'm going to do a lot of different types of texture. So I'm going to mix it up with a little bit of slide cutting, a lot of very deep point cutting as well, because we're looking for quite a lot of movement. I don't want to have too much lift. So the way root lift is where if you want to stand up, you cut it for texture, you cut just about halfway through and you slide through. If you want to collapse, you cut quite deep at the root, so then the weight of the hair will sit flat and it'll create that more like kind of flatter texture. So you pick it up, fingers right to the scalp and cut right deep into it, so all that hair sits on top of it and weighs it down, and it doesn't get any standing, nothing stands up at all. So I'm keeping the main bluntness of the fringe, but I'm just creating a bit of movement, so when he does add product, he can break it up slightly if he likes to as well. And this is where you'll really start to see the style coming through, especially the texture. Just a low speed, high heat. Just wait your fingers through it to dry the interior. And you start to see that movement coming through now. keep this look kind of going, because it's got quite a lot of longevity with the top, because obviously there's so much movement and different things going on through the top. You know, when it gets a bit longer, you can whack that fringe up, you know what I mean? She's still got length in there. But you know, I'd say just once every 4 or 5 weeks, just normal really. The back and sides, obviously with being a fade, you're going to get quite a long time out of it, but then obviously when it grows through, you really notice it growing through. So it might feel really long when it gets like a number 2 length, because you're so used to seeing scalp, you know. Thick hair, this is an absolute beauty for, because the amount of texture you create. But thin hair, yeah, of course, like thin hair will still work. It's just at what point you take the fringe. So once you work out where the strongest point of their fringe is, let's just say they've got a receding hairline to here and the fringe is there, you'd cut the fringe right off almost, and then you'd bring this hair down and cut it a bit higher up, so then it would give that appearance of it being thicker. But again, thicker hair the better for this, because it's all about this moving through the back, and obviously skin fade works for anyone. So it is quite a universal haircut in some ways. We haven't cut anything off the crown here. It's really long. The reason why I leave it to the end is because I can see exactly how it's going to sit. So I can literally pick it out and cut this in to blend. And I know it's not going to stick up. I know I'm not going to cut it off. I just know I can manipulate this in the way that it's going to follow the natural growth. Nothing worse than cutting this side too short and it sticks up. With this hair being so straight, you want to add a little bit of thinning to this. I don't tend to use thinning scissors. I tend to just use like natural ways of thinning, like just using like kind of point cutting deep or working through it. I mean, thinning scissors are alright, but I just find I can create a lot more texture visually by doing this. I know exactly where my cut's going to be and where the texture and the thinning's going to be as well. Nice low skin fade into a nice blunt fringe, loads of texture, loads of movement, and I think we'll style this up. I'm gonna use a little bit of your clay. Big gentleman one. It's a really good product for this style, as it's really, really matte. So you get a very nice load of texture, but you're not sacrificing with a wetter look or a shiny look. It's going to show off all the sections that we did, basically pretty much every single section that I did you'll see, and you'll see that texture that I added as well. So what you want to do is start with the crown. Everyone misses the crown. Everyone has loads of product here and nothing at the back, so I always just do a little bit through the back just to get it in there, and then I'm going to lift the fringe up and I'll work the product through. I'm going to work it down, and that way you're getting the product all in there, and then putting it on the top is allowing me to sit it flatter, and by doing that, up, down, I'm going to create that really nice texture, movement. As you can see, if you wear it this way, you've got a little bit of texture to it. If you wear it blunt, you've got that as well. It's a very masculine finish, slightly feminine edge with the blunt fringe, but it works on this face shape, and it works from the way we've done it and cut it in with the skin fade. All you need to do is pick little bits out. But as I said, it's a really simple haircut to style. All I did was blow dried it, used my fingers, didn't use any brush. If it's cut this way, or a similar way, if you work it back and then bring it forward, it'll all just sort of sit messy, but it'll sit in the shape as well because it's been cut that way. So it's such a simple thing. Don't over style it. The cut is done. It's all cut in a particular way for it to sit this way, so the hair will sit where it wants to live anyway. So don't overly style it, and it'll sort of style itself almost. And that's, yeah.